Welcome back to The Deep Dive. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
And this is the C9 podcast show where we get stuck into the sources hitting the desks of Australian C-level executives and business owners.
Exactly. Hello to all our C9 followers tuning in for the podcast or the business page. Look, this one's really for you, Australian business leaders navigating, well, a pretty complex intersection of tech and compliance right now.
Yeah, the sources we've looked at are making it crystal clear. Generative AI or GenAI, it's not just another trend. It feels like the biggest shift for Australian business since, what, the commercial internet?
Oh, easily. And it's moving fast. It's less about getting a competitive edge now and, frankly, more about basic survival, organizationally speaking.
But there's a catch, right? A big one. The sources call it the AI compliance chasm.
That's the core tension, yeah. You've got this incredible revolutionary potential with GenAI, but it's completely overshadowed because the tech speed has just, it's completely outrun clear Australian legal and ethical rules. The governance isn't there yet, not fully.
So that's our job today, then, to kind of explore that risk management challenge for executives. We need to try and map out a path, a way to build these GenAI applications so they're secure, ethical, meet Aussie standards, and don't, blow up in your face.
Precisely, because the stakes, they are huge. Get this wrong. And you're not just looking at a failed project. You're exposing the business to massive fines, data sovereignty breaches, serious compliance failures. You've got the Privacy Act, the eSafety Commissioner, the Australian Consumer Law, the ACL all watching. It's direct executive liability we're talking about.
Okay, so where do we start? The sources point to maybe the first and biggest potential mistake executives make. Thinking about skipping that initial discovery phase. Why is that so tempting? Speed, cost.
It's often seen as just another meeting, right?
Yeah.
An unnecessary hurdle, or worse, just a sales tactic to get information before they give you the real price. But with Gen AI, especially now with the legal landscape being so, well, fluid, skipping discovery is a massive miscalculation. It's a critical vulnerability.
Why, though? If they just want a ballpark figure, can't a vendor give them something to start with?
Because any price you get without that deep dive first is basically built on guesswork, ambiguity, padding. A compliant GenAI application isn't like ordering a standard website off a menu. The sources nail it. It's a living legal asset.
A living legal asset, okay.
Yeah. So to price it accurately, you have to map out those critical regulatory points, the technical decisions first. Otherwise, the vendor has no choice but to build in huge financial buffers to cover all those unknown risks, those potential legal landmines.
Right, so what are some of those specific unknowns, the things that really need mapping up front to avoid disaster?
Okay, based on the sources, we've pulled out 3 absolutely critical areas. First up, data sovereignty. Simple question, huge implications. Does the data have to stay onshore on Australian soil?
Ah, okay. That decision alone changes everything.
Completely. It dictates your entire cloud strategy. Straight away, it might rule out certain offshore services you were maybe considering. That needs clarity from day one.
Makes sense. What's number 2? Sounds like it's about privacy.
Exactly. Privacy and PII, personally identifiable information. How is the application going to handle it? Get this wrong, and you're looking at mandatory breach reporting under the Privacy Act. That's serious.
No, you need things like audit trails built in from the ground up.
Absolutely. Audit trails, data scrubbing pipelines, these aren't nice to haves. They're foundational requirements if PII is involved. You can't just tack them on later. Well, you can, but it's expensive and risky.
Okay, data sovereignty, PII. What's the third big one? This one feels a bit different.
It is. It's bias mitigation. GAI learns from data, right?
Right.
So how will your application prove its outputs are fair, that they aren't discriminatory?
Okay, I see. This connects to ethics, but also consumer law.
Directly to the Australian Consumer Law, the ACL. If your AI tool produces biased results, or if you've misrepresented its capabilities because you haven't addressed bias, you could be facing breaches related to misleading conduct. It's a huge risk.
So mapping these 3, data sovereignty, PII handling, bias mitigation, that's what discovery should be doing. Not just talking features, but tackling these fundamental compliance points.
That's exactly it. The sources frame it really well. Think of discovery not as a sales hurdle, but as an executive de-risking session.
Okay, I like that framing. De-risking. How does that session work in practice? What are the steps?
It's structured. It typically starts with a situation analysis. What's your current data environment look like? Any technical debt we need to account for? What are the actual business goals here?
Right. Understanding the starting point.
Then problem definition. Let's get laser focused on what this GenAI tool needs to achieve commercially. What's the ROI?
And then the critical step you mentioned.
Compliance mapping. This is where you overlay that whole Australian regulatory landscape, Privacy Act, ACL, e-safety, industry specifics onto the proposed solution.
Hmm.
You identify every single feature that touches compliance, things like audit logging, data anonymization, access controls. They get flagged as critical right here.
So the big takeaway is skipping discovery might feel like saving time or money up front.
But it's the opposite. That upfront discovery work. It's the investment that potentially saves you millions down the track in fines, rework, legal battles. It turns this scary, open-ended tech challenge into a defined, de-risked project with clear boundaries.
Okay, that clarity sounds essential. Which leads us to another danger. The sources highlight this idea of the AI cowboy in something called vibes coding. What's that about?
Yeah, vibes coding. It's a colorful term, but it captures something real we're seeing. You've got freelancers, maybe some low-cost app shops,
Yeah.
the digital AI cowboys, who are leaning really heavily on just grabbing generic code snippets spat out by large language models.
So they're building fast using AI-generated code.
Exactly. And the focus is purely on, does it kind of work? Does it give off the right vibe? Immediate functionality is the only goal.
It sounds quick. It probably sounds cheap. What's the hidden cost? What's the fallout from that approach?
Oh, the fallout can be catastrophic for a serious business. Two main risks jump out from the sources. First, you're essentially building a compliance and security time bomb.
How so?
That auto-generated code, it's often riddled with insecure dependencies. It usually lacks proper audit trails. The very things we just said are critical. And crucially, it almost never has the strict ethical guardrails and governance models baked in that Australian regulations demand for enterprise use.
So it might look like it works on day one, but when someone actually scrutinizes it, an auditor, a regulator.
It's technically and ethically indefensible. It just can't stand up to proper review. That's the time bomb.
Okay, that's risk one. What's the second?
Zero ownership and knowledge transfer. The AI cowboy builds the thing, hands it over, and rides off into the sunset. They haven't built deep knowledge. They've just assembled code.
Leaving the client with what? A black box?
Precisely, an unmanageable black box. So when your internal team needs to update it, patch a security flaw, integrate it further, or just understand how it makes decisions, they can't. There's no documentation, no deep understanding passed on. It's brittle and incredibly risky.
Right, that makes sense. So if that's a risky approach, what does a more mature, responsible partner do instead? How do they avoid creating that black box?
The best practice identified is treating knowledge transfer as strategic IP. It's a core deliverable, not an afterthought.
Strategic IP, meaning?
Meaning the senior developers, the architects. They don't just write code. They rigorously document the why behind critical decisions, technical choices, compliance implementations, data handling rules, all of it.
And that documentation then belongs to the client.
Absolutely. It empowers your internal team. They can understand, manage, maintain, and evolve the application long after the initial build. The work becomes defensible, understandable intellectual property that you own. That's the crucial difference.
Okay, so you get quality, you get documentation, you get ownership. But that sounds expensive. How do you achieve that level of rigor without costs spiraling, especially compared to the AI cowboy?
That's where the delivery model becomes key. The sources point to a smart approach, a proprietary, blended hybrid team model. It's about getting the best of both worlds.
Blended hybrid, how does that work?
You have your core Australian Inshore team.
Yeah.
These are your solution architects, your project managers, critical compliance specialists. They provide the client-facing leadership, the deep understanding of the Australian context, the regulatory oversight. They own the strategy and governance.
Okay, the local expertise and oversight.
And they manage.
They manage and direct the global offshore team. This isn't just random outsourcing. It's carefully selected, world-class technical talent focused purely on execution, working under that strict Australian governance.
Ah, I see. So you get the top-tier technical skills at competitive global rates, but it's all steered and quality controlled by the local context-aware team. Exactly. It's how you deliver premium compliant quality efficiently for Australian businesses. You get the governance and the value.
That theme of certainty in compliance, certainty in the team structure seems vital. Which brings us neatly to the money side. Pricing. The sources warn against chasing that quick upfront quote, the indicative pricing. Why is that so bad?
Because, fundamentally, indicative pricing is the enemy of value. It's the developer basically charging you for their lack of certainty.
How do you mean? Charging for their uncertainty.
Well, if they haven't done that deep discovery, they haven't mapped the compliance risks and technical unknowns we talked about, how can they possibly give you an accurate price? They can't. So they have to build in a massive buffer, a financial cushion.
So that range they give you, like, oh, it'll be 5 to 7 weeks, that includes padding.
Heaps of padding, often like a 50% buffer or more. The pricing to the nearest day or even week because they have to cover themselves against all those things they don't know yet. The unexpected compliance hurdles, the integration that's trickier than it looks. You, the client, end up paying a premium for their ambiguity.
Okay, let's make that concrete. The sources had a great example, a calculation showing the real dollar cost of this ambiguity for, say, a Brisbane company needing audit logging for Privacy Act
Right.
compliance.
So hypothetically, pre-discovery indicative pricing. They guess the scope, add the buffer. Maybe it comes out as an estimate of 240 hours. Let's say at a typical rate, that's $36,000.
Okay, 36K based on guesswork and padding. Now, what happens after a proper structured discovery where everything is mapped out precisely?
After discovery, they know exactly what's needed. The estimation unit isn't weeks or days, it's the nearest hour. That same feature, properly scoped, maybe it's actually only 120 hours of real work.
So the discovery-based price would be,
$18,000, half the indicative price.
wow, so that difference, $18,000.
That's the cost of ambiguity. That's the literal financial penalty you pay for letting a vendor skip the crucial discovery work. It's $18,000 that could have funded a whole other feature, gone straight to your bottom line, or de-risked another part of the project. It's wasted money, essentially paying for guesswork.
That's a powerful illustration. And you mentioned that this clarity from discovery also helps with how the project is rolled out, staging.
Absolutely. Once you have that clarity, you can be much smarter and more fiscally responsible about staging the project for earlier ROI. It happens naturally.
How does that work in practice?
You start with phase one, the MVP or foundation. Focus only on the absolute core compliance requirement and the minimal set of features needed to actually deliver some business value, maybe unlock some early revenue or efficiency. Get that live and working securely.
Get something real and compliant out the door first.
Exactly. Then, phase two, expansion. You use the savings you made by avoiding that ambiguity cost or the revenue generated from phase one to strategically fund the next set of features. It's a much more pragmatic, sustainable way to build out complex GenAI capabilities. You're not betting the farm on one giant, ambiguous project.
Makes a lot of sense. One final point the sources touched on regarding team staff augmentation. If a company needs to bring in external people to bolster their team for a GenAI project.
Yeah. The key point there is avoiding the AI cowboy risk, even in staff aug. A good partner provides an integrated team member, not just a lone developer. This avoids the bus factor, where if that one person leaves, all the knowledge walks out the door.
Right. And they also mentioned a minimum engagement period, 3 to 6 months.
Yes, and that's crucial for these deep compliance projects. GenAI isn't a quick plug-and-play thing, especially in a regulated environment. The external resource needs time, that 3 to 6 month window, to really understand your specific business context, your data, your unique compliance needs, and integrate effectively.
So it's not just about code, it's about deep integration into the business's operating reality.
Precisely. Anything less, and you risk getting superficial work that doesn't actually meet the long-term compliance and security needs. It ensures the person becomes a genuinely effective, high ROI asset working within your framework, usually remote first for efficiency.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the core message for Australian executives looking at GenAI? It feels like a bit of a minefield.
Look, the potential of GenAI is undeniable, but the sources are absolutely clear on this. The line between a profitable, secure GenAI asset and a, frankly, catastrophic legal liability. It comes down to the partner you choose and the rigor of their process.
It's about avoiding the guesswork.
Stop guessing. Start mapping. Demand certainty. Demand compliance from day one. Demand that knowledge transfer. That's how you navigate this successfully.
All right, let's leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on, something building on what we've discussed. If the cost of ambiguity for just one single feature can be $18,000, what's the potential compounding cost, 3 years down the line, of trying to manage an entire ecosystem built on unmanageable, non-compliant vibes code?
That's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? Don't put your business in that position. Avoid the AI cowboys. Avoid the hidden costs of indicative pricing. Choose a partner who brings that integrated team, insists on knowledge transfer, and prioritizes a compliant process designed for building secure, ethical, enterprise-grade GenAI right here in Australia.
The first step is understanding your specific risks and opportunities. Book your compliance-focused discovery call to start de-risking your GenAI strategy proactively. Find out more at www.cine.com.au.
C9 is Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company. Make sure you click that follow button, and please share this deep dive with other executives who need to hear this. We'll catch you next time.